Welcome to the Kentucky Couple Travel Podcast. I'm Clifton.
And I'm Whitney.
So we're going to pick up where we left off in the last episode, talking about our trip to Alaska. So if you've missed that last episode, or episode number 2, we had talked about kind of some things leading up to the trip, especially in the time of after the pandemic and the COVID testing and the hiccups that caused. We talked about our flight on Alaskan Airlines, and then about the boat and the cruise in general. Some funny stories in there, so hope you all enjoyed that. So there was just so much information that we had to split this into 2 podcasts. And we're going to start, and the way we'll organize this one is to kind of go stop by stop that we had on the cruise. This was a 6-night, 7-day cruise, and you get on the boat the first day. The second day was just a day at sea. Mm-hmm. So we're just cruising in the ocean. That's where we got into some of the rough water out in the ocean. When we were talking about last episode, kind of the first time on a cruise we'd ever been seasick at all. And it wasn't anything major, nothing that medicine wouldn't take care of, but it was something that we had to address for us. But then the third day actually on the boat, you didn't get off the boat, but it was considered a port. And that was at Tracy Arm Fjord. Yeah, Ford. So I'm going to say that probably like the vehicle manufacturer.
Some people say Fjord.
F-O-R-D, but it's spelled F-J-O-R-D. And so I will say this. I made some notes that I'd found about each place. But it says a ford, F-J-O-R-D, is an old Nordic term meaning a long, narrow, and deep inlet of sea between high cliffs, usually formed by the sinking of a glacial valley.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've been saving that for.
Wow.
But I will say, we have done quite a bit of traveling, and it's one of like I said, one of the things we love to do. I've never been anywhere more beautiful than Tracy Arm Fjord.
Just beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say because, like I said, you didn't get off the boat. But just imagine, you're cruising in a area, a little wider than a river, maybe not much, maybe a major river. It wouldn't even be as wide. And there's huge mountains on both sides, and each of those mountains are snow-capped. Yeah, there are just, and it's a mix. Some of these mountains are covered in, just huge, beautiful pine trees. Some are just like rock granite face, but they're all snow-capped. And
waterfalls coming off of them.
And because they're all snow-capped, that means as they melt in the summertime when we're traveling and it warms up, just every few feet is this huge waterfall, and it's
like bigger than I've seen.
And from a distance, you don't take in how big they are.
No.
But just the sound of that running into the water, you could hear how big a waterfall that was.
Well, I never realized that a waterfall, the sizes of waterfalls until we went to the lake and went to one close to where we live. And it was just barely a stream, and I'd asked to go underneath it, and it was so strong that it almost knocked me down, and it looked just like a drip.
Yeah, just a small stream of water.
So looking at those, it was unbelievable just how big they actually were, and I'm sure powerful they were.
But I would say, for me, we spent pretty much this entire day just sitting on the deck. We got there, and I believe I'm telling you this right, at like 1 o'clock in the day, we started into the ford.
Yeah.
And by the time we go all the way up in it to the end where you can see the glacier that's pretty much formed this whole valley, as that water runs off, to get back out of the ford, it was 7:30. So about 6.5 hours. So this whole day, we may run out to get some food or something on the boat, but we're just sitting on the balcony, relaxing and taking in, to me, the best stop. What about you? What did you think about this day?
Yeah, it was one of my favorites too. I really liked it just because there were so many things to see. Like your eyes were just everywhere. I'm really amazed at how big the mountains are, because I guess compared to ours, we have, in my mind, our mountains are huge, and then those are so much bigger. I was pretty amazed by the pieces of ice that was coming off of the like glaciers and stuff. There's huge pieces of ice in the water. We've seen some seals on some of the ice, and the ice had this strange blue color, which me and his mom were just amazed by. It's just really cool. So I really liked that, and just, it's just a really relaxing. I guess in my mind, I pictured it like it was almost like something you would see in a movie. I kept thinking of the Sound of Music or something. I don't know. It was just so pretty, and just you've seen a lot of grass too, and there was still snow and ice, and I really can't explain it to you. I think the best way to see it is we do have our YouTube page that Clifton made a video with all the videos he made during that part of the trip, and it really does justice of what we've seen, because it's really hard to explain something that pretty.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Now, I think one of the things that stood out for me was, I've always said before this trip, out of all the places we've been, there's nowhere as beautiful as home to me.
Yeah.
I've always thought that, and I've always thought, the mountains in eastern Kentucky and, even the surrounding states, that Appalachian mountain range from Pennsylvania down, almost to Alabama. That mountain range is just beautiful. But I will say now, for me, it's probably number 2. In some ways you'll look and you're like, okay, these mountains look similar to ours. But in some way they're drastically different.
It's the height.
It's, and just to look, at a mountain, you're like, okay, that's a big mountain like ours. But when you look at the numbers and you look at, out of the biggest mountains in the United States, several of those, if you look at the top 10 list, are from Alaska.
Yeah.
And so now I believe it's Mount Denali, is the big, was at one point Mount McKinley, but they've changed the name to Denali. And you're talking about, I think, 14,000 feet. So you're looking at this as just massive, massive mountains that you're looking at. And each turn I felt like that we took up the valley was just more beautiful than the next. So for me, if you are thinking about going on a trip to Alaska, if it's something you're planning on doing, make sure when you're planning, if you're taking a cruise, that Tracy Arm Fjord or some part of the Inside Passage. I know there's Icy Strait Point. There's all kinds of places you can go. But I will say, make sure that is a part of your trip. Because I felt like we were sitting there that day and I said, this alone was worth the trip. This alone was worth the money you pay to go, just seeing it. Because, as Whitney said, there's nothing you can say to put into perspective really how beautiful that was. It was peaceful, and you just saw, it was just amazing.
Yeah, and I was looking that up about why the water was so blue, because that's something I was wondering, but it's the light. It says it's the light, the way the light's scattered and the way it escapes the iceberg, so it makes it like blue and sometimes different colors. It said the longer the path light travels on ice, the more blue it appears. And that I don't know, just really, it was so pretty looking at it that way.
Well, it's probably picking up some, some dirt and debris and things, and the mineral content is changing the longer it's on that glacier.
It's just really pretty, and it is, like you said, it's make sure you go there, because I feel like that really gets the picture of Alaska.
Yeah, you can go to anywhere and go to a town and get off a boat and go to town and eat and shop and do all these things.
And I enjoy that a lot.
But really what sets Alaska apart from anywhere else is its
scenery.
Yeah, it's the scenery. And this also started what was really a perfect run of weather for us.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, I think, in Alaska was shocked, because they were like, you're here on good weather, because they said it had been raining and raining and raining and raining, and then it usually does rain that much. And from Washington all the way to Alaska, it rains.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're known for, is just, just very rainy. It's actually, we'll talk about it in the next stop we're in, but and even this, it's considered a rainforest, because they have so much rain.
I didn't know that.
Year.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So, but for me, this was the highlight. This was the one thing, if you go to Alaska, make sure something like this, the scenery, you take time to take in the scenery, and because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, this day, it was sunny and 69 degrees in Alaska. Just amazing. Just perfect weather for sitting out on the deck of the boat. And I'll say this, we took warm clothes with us. We had jackets
We
and
had
hoodies
more
and
packed
things.
and then
We had,
changed, but we did
toboggans
take
and
warm.
gloves. But I never
No.
put on a jacket while we were there.
No.
Outside of
I had
maybe,
a sweatshirt on maybe
yeah, I may have threw on
on
a
the
hoodie
deck while we were moving.
Yeah, on the deck,
Because the wind.
on the balcony while the boat was moving at night.
Yeah.
Now in the daytime, the sun was out.
Now I did a little
fine.
bit, but it still wasn't bad.
Yeah, but I mean,
I ended up taking it off.
so shorts and a t-shirt was good every day. Like I said, that day was 69 and sunny. It was in that range, 65 to 75 and sunny every single day we were there.
We were really blessed.
So we were just so fortunate for that. And so I guess with that, we'll go into our next day on the boat. And with that, we went to Juneau.
Juneau, yeah.
So Juneau is probably one of the cities in Alaska that we know of, that people in the the continental United States, I should say, we've heard of Juneau. So here's a little bit of information about it. It says with a total area of 3,255 square miles, Juneau is one of the largest municipalities in the United States and the largest capital city in the U.S. Bay Area. So it's very
Learning
spread
new
out.
things to me.
Yeah, very very spread out. But just like I said, over 3,000 square miles. So any initial thoughts or comments there, Whitney, on Juneau?
Juneau was pretty too, and it had a lot of scenery and things too, and we did some really cool stuff, I thought, in Juneau. Like you said, the weather was good. I enjoyed the shopping there. They had some really good shops for souvenirs, and surprisingly, I expected it to be really expensive because everybody was like, it's expensive, but now everything was reasonably priced. We got some great stuff there. I really enjoyed it. I loved the tram that we took.
So we took when you get off Juneau, you're in the middle of the city pretty much. It drops you off right in downtown, and at least probably the touristy part of downtown. And we walked maybe a block and a half to the Gold Belt tram station, and it's this tram, I think it said each cart holds 60 people, and you go up a mountain, several thousand feet. Takes less than a
Beautiful
minute.
view.
And
Beautiful view on the way up.
Yeah, the whole tram is surrounded by glass, so you have 360-degree views out the window. Probably on the tram up with us, there was like 2 other families, so it wasn't crowded at all.
No. Said
each tram held 60 people. There may have been 10 on it. So it was just phenomenal, and you got to see the entire area. And when you got to the top, I mean, I thought it was just some of the best views that we had.
It was beautiful.
So at the top of when you get there, obviously they have a gift shop. That's everywhere. And when we said things are reasonably priced, anytime you go to a touristy area, things you're paying a little bit of a premium because it's there, it's convenient. But at the top they had a gift shop. You had all your Juneau stuff, the Gold Belt tram, but also they had a theater, and every 30 minutes it would restart. So we took the time to watch that. It was a documentary called Seeing Daylight, and so this is really the first time that we had an introduction to the native people of Alaska and some of those indigenous people, and I thought it was just a really good documentary.
Yeah, I like documentaries anyway. Yeah. I like to learn. I love museums and types of things, so I really like to learn about where I'm at and what's going on there and all the things that's been on, and that was really nice. I really liked that.
I thought it gave us a really good starting place for our trip to Alaska. Being from the South here, Alaska's, might as well be on the other side of the planet
it's like
for us.
It's completely, it's almost like it's non-existent or something.
So it's just so far away from us, and I'm sure they don't think about Kentucky a lot.
When I looked it up, I was shocked at how far away from home we actually were.
Yeah, so, but it was a good starting place because it introduced you to, local culture, and for them, it was, the indigenous people, it was all about the totem pole. And I think we think of that like Native Americans and the Indians, here that were in this area. But that was a very special part of their culture, and something that we really got to see more the following day that we'll talk about here in a moment. But I just thought it was a really good documentary, really well done. So again, if you want to look that up, it's called Seeing Daylight, and it just talks about all the people there.
Yeah,
that
it was great.
it
was pretty. I thought it was kind of heartbreaking too. The story it told about what they went through and how their land was taken over a lot, and it was just, that's a story a lot we hear a lot around, especially the United States and here because of, that's who was here first. But it was just really, really sad, and it was just really interesting.
Well, it seemed like it was a constant battle for them.
Yeah.
We're familiar here in this area. With the Europeans that came and the Cherokee and even as the United States formed to a country, the Trail of Tears, and that whole story. But for them, it was just one battle after another.
Yeah.
It was the Russians at first, and it was always, it seemed, it would start with these people wanting to trade.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That made me sad because it's like they're friends and then enemies.
And they would just take advantage of them, I felt like.
It was horrible.
But a really good documentary if you get a chance to look that up. Seeing Daylight, it was great. So then we spent some time on top of the mountain looking
snow
around.
Up there. His mom made some snowballs.
Yeah, we had to make snowballs.
Just look at the views. They have a skywalk, they call it, or a sky bridge, and it had like glass on both sides. When you walked out, you could see some of the view.
So really good pictures from up there. Like I said, if you look on our Facebook page.
Restaurant. They had a restaurant.
Yeah, they had a little restaurant. We were going to eat there. They hadn't hardly opened yet.
Hadn't opened
we
yet.
probably left the boat around 8:30, I would say.
Yeah.
And we got up there by the time we walked down there and got on the tram and up there, I would say it's around 9, and they didn't open until 10.
Yeah.
So we watched the video, did a few things there, and probably about 10 or 10:30, we left to go back down the mountain and just kind of explore the city. So here's one thing, if you've ever been on a cruise or if you're thinking about going on a cruise, you need to know. Where they're letting you off the boat, they're all geared to make money. They know every day thousands of people are going to be dropped off here.
There's a few things that's there that stirs.
Yeah, pretty much every town you go to in a cruise port is going to have the same stores for the most part. Now, I'm not saying there's no uniqueness, and every town does have its own
especially if you like jewelry, you're set.
Yeah, if you like jewelry, that's a big thing.
Tanzanite? Or
yeah, they're everywhere I've ever been. The cruise line is pushing jewelry, whether it's watches, diamonds, and
silver,
whatever it is. Jewelry's a big thing. That's.
Don't worry. If you see one, you better buy it. It's the last one.
Yeah,
they tell me
Tanzanite
that
is so many thousand times more rare than gold and diamonds. And you'd think, well, this is the only store that sells it. But if you look outside,
I looked at a pair of earrings. The lady was like, "You better get these. They're going to be gone. There's not going to be any left."
Yeah, and so, but if you look outside, there's probably a dozen jewelry stores. They all sell Tanzanite. You can go to the Caribbean and they sell Tanzanite.
Yeah.
So
if you're interested in Tanzanite, take a cruise.
Yeah, that's something just to be aware of. And like I said, it doesn't take you long to learn that. It's they're hustling, they're trying to make money.
And they always give you a free gift.
That's their livelihood. Yeah, and that is one thing you can kind of take advantage of. There are free gifts, little charms and beads and different things at every little shop.
Yeah.
But you're paying the price of that with your time, just like watching a commercial on TV. You're paying for that.
Yeah, you get that little thing from them. You'll be there a few minutes. Letting them try to sell you something.
But it's not a hard sale.
No,
it's not like they're really pressuring you. It's just
They just explain it and how rare it is, and if you leave, you'll never see it again.
Never see it again. But that's just a few stores. In every town there's local shops, and we like to go in and visit some of those. And so by the time we got sort of down to the end of town, at least the portion we were in, we decided it's time for lunch. Mm-hmm. And
I love this one.
So why don't you tell them where we went? And,
well, we went to a place called the Red Dog Saloon. Maybe you could take a chance to look it up and see if it's an original. I wasn't sure about that. Why don't you look it up real quick?
Well, when it was established?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
He'll check that out because it's something I had in my mind. But we went in and it was packed, completely packed. But it's very old and it had like tons of old stuff. And they had a little man there playing the piano. It had that old school Western vibe, and that I'm like really into that kind of thing. I love old westerns, like Gunsmoke and all that stuff. So it kind of give you that vibe. The floor was completely sawdust. My shoes were filthy when I left, and the tables were really small, and it was really packed, but the food was good. I had like a barbecue. I think Clifton and his mom had like chicken tenders. I just enjoyed the atmosphere.
Very old timey.
They were very, like, the ladies were dressed in like saloon style dresses and stuff, and it was just old timey, which is right up my alley because I love that kind of thing. And I just really enjoyed the atmosphere. I think that just made me, I got a vibe of like when we went to Tombstone, which was my favorite. We'll talk about that another day. But I got that kind of vibe, and I just really enjoyed that. So I wasn't sure, was it?
So here's what it says. It originally opened, it is an original place to the area.
Okay.
When it opened, kind of when Juneau kind of took off for their mining for gold.
Yeah.
And, like much of the West, it was settled, and the reason they were wanting to kind of trade the natives away from the land was for gold. They saw something valuable there. So it was built there, and it stayed in its original spot. And, throughout time, they would move from one place to another throughout history. And then the place where it's at now was built in 1988.
Okay.
And so it's been there since then, but it's always been a saloon. It's the same. It was a family owned it. Then some people from out of town bought it in 1988 when they built this. But then in 2008, locals bought it back.
Okay, that's cool.
So now it's
yeah, I didn't have time to think. I wondered about that, and I completely forgot to look it up. I just really, really liked it.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a blend, a little bit of everything, just American style food, and then a little bit of seafood.
Yeah, I just like the atmosphere. That was pretty cool.
Very old timey. They had the guy playing the piano.
Yeah, he was great. Well, we have some videos on our Facebook page. I'm working on it on our Instagram page. We have some Facebook videos of it, so you could go check that out on our page.
Yep. So, like I said, I would recommend it. It's just a good place to,
relax,
take a break and relax and
look around.
Almost go back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
The sawdust floor I thought was really neat.
They had the horse like hitch post things in the front.
So we've done kind of the Wild West stuff before, and we've
my favorite.
We've been to saloons and things.
But it was more authentic.
Yeah, there's not probably a city in America from mid-sized up that doesn't have a saloon.
Yeah.
But this one really felt more authentic. I think they took some pride in it, and like I said, the sawdust floor was a first for
Even
us.
the guys had like suspenders and it just looked like something you would see on Gunsmoke.
Yeah, and it was just original. So that was kind of the peak of the day for us, and.
On the way out, we had some ice cream down the street.
Yeah, that was a good ice cream. I think you brought that to me. I don't know where you got it from.
I got it at this
shop.
fudge shop. But I think it was called Alaskan Fudgery or something. And that fudge was really good.
So we ate that as we walked back to the boat. We kind of strolled, stopped at a few shops. Nothing.
I'm a shopper, so I have to stop.
Yeah. I don't know if we made any major purchases there. I think we got some souvenirs
everything was
and
souvenirs, T-shirts, hats.
Is this where you got your...
Pandora.
Yeah, your Pandora bead.
Yeah, I got a Pandora bead that said like the Inside Passage Alaska, and it had like a whale on it. Yeah. So it was really cute.
So that's just something. Yeah, we usually sometimes you get that. Not everywhere we go, but we got that in a magnet. I think was about it.
Yeah, I
for
thought that
us.
one was pretty special place, so I wanted to get something.
Yeah. So that kind of wrapped up the day there. We were there from I think the boats got there at 7 in the morning. We got off about 8. And then back on board time was at 2:30, and the ship left at probably 3 to 3:30. And that's one other thing we can go ahead and mention now is that very particular when you're on a cruise of what time it is on the ship, and what time you need to be back on board.
Yeah, you don't want to get left.
So if you wanna have some fun one evening, just search on YouTube. Pier runners, cruise ships, and you'll find some funny videos. Because
I've not witnessed that any. I think
No.
everyone we've been on, everybody's been there. I've seen some close calls.
Yeah, I'm always watching for it because I'm up for some entertainment.
And I've seen close calls.
But here's the thing, up front, they're like, all right, everybody needs to be back on board by 2:30. They usually give you 30 minutes to an hour leeway there. They're telling you that to make sure you're there.
Because if you're past it, that boat is gone.
It's leaving. And that's not to say they're being cruel. It's just in most of these ports, let's say they're scheduled to leave at 3 o'clock. If they're there at 5 minutes after 3, they're getting fined tens of thousands of dollars.
I felt like theirs up there was a little more lenient.
Yeah.
It felt a little more relaxed.
It may be because it's stateside.
Yeah, because like with the Bahamas and stuff, it's not as relaxed. And then Alaska.
Well, it's probably so crowded in the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, because
there's usually several cruise ships at the same time.
Yeah, and in the Bahamas or somewhere, if you're leaving, there's another boat coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're looking at maybe a dozen boats in a day at some places. So I think in Juneau, they said they were set up for 6 in a day. The day we were there were 3. I think there was our Carnival boat, the Carnival Spirit. There was a Royal Caribbean and then a Holland American, I believe. So 3 boats. It didn't feel super crowded. I think one more was coming in that day, but it said sometimes they have up to 6. So Juneau, any final thoughts there before we move forward?
I think that was about it.
Yeah,
I think you covered it pretty good, or we covered it pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. So it was a good place. Nice stop, and I think it's set up well for the next day.
Yeah.
So next day again, another early morning. Probably one of the negatives to this, I would say and I can't remember if we talked about this last week, but about the cruise was the times in port were a little short.
Yeah.
So, I know we've been places in the past, and you're there 12 hours. You can spend an entire day. And I think it felt a little rushed sometimes.
Yeah, you have to really plan carefully.
Especially these last 2. Now, I don't know in Juneau if felt like I needed any more time.
No.
We probably could have found something else to do.
I'm sure
if we
there
had
were
more
other
time.
things I would have liked to have tried.
But I wasn't, really disappointed.
No.
But next day, so we're kind of a little bit past at this point, the halfway point in our cruise, and our last stop in Alaska, and that's Ketchikan.
Mm-hmm.
Ketchikan, super small town.
Really pretty.
But just a beautiful, very laid back. And so just to kind of give you a sense of what we're talking about how long we were in port. We got there at 7. That doesn't mean you can just hop off the boat at 7. They have to set everything up. Usually by 8, everybody was ready to be off the boat. I think we left about 8:30, and you had to be back on board by 12:30.
Yeah.
So that doesn't leave a lot of
that one
time.
felt a little more rushed.
If you're going to do an excursion and then try to get about to eat and then shop and get some souvenirs, there's just not a lot of time to do that. So we hadn't booked an excursion there like we had in Juneau. Remember in Juneau we had done the tram.
Really originally didn't plan to do an excursion.
No, we were just going to walk around. Like I said, it's a small town, but interesting fact about Ketchikan, like I've had for each of these, Ketchikan says is the highest numbered zip code in the United States. The zip code in Ketchikan is 99950.
Well, interesting. I'm learning all kinds of new things.
And again, another day that was just perfect weather. And so we get off the boat, and there's, this, I think it was Creek Street is there. Just kind of the main little touristy area. Some souvenir shops and things. But there's also some, usually this way everywhere when you get off the boat, tour guides, people offering their services for whatever you want to do. So we looked around, and for Ketchikan, like I said, it was kind of short. There was offers to do whale watching tours and bus tours of the city. And
There's
so
people everywhere.
We talked.
Take their
yeah,
thing.
always with brochures and things. Excuse me. And so we talked with a couple of those. We had saw some whales on the boat. We'd done whale watching before when we went up to the northeast.
And it was pretty expensive, so it didn't really.
And so then we talked with them about a bus tour around Ketchikan. And I think they were pricing it around $75 a piece.
Not terrible.
And that was to take us around. And so the way I looked at it, if it's myself and then Whitney and my mom, you're looking at, $75 a piece for us. That's $150 then plus mom, so $225 to go on a bus ride with 50 people. There was one other place over there, so I was like, all right, let's go over and check these people out. Just kind of make an informed decision. And they said they had private Hummer tours.
Yeah.
And so talked with them. What ended up being their price?
It was like $3 something.
Yeah, $315 I think. And that was as many people as you want to take with you. So I was like,
and I like the privacy of it.
Let's just do that. They're like, they will do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're like, well, when can they leave? They're like, we'll have somebody here in 5 minutes. We're like, sounds good to us. So we kind of did that. We all split on that and made the day of it, really. The lady came that was our kind of tour guide. I forget her name. And
Michelle.
Was it Michelle? Okay, I feel bad about that, and I'm
bad. Pretty good at names.
I'm bad with names, so I kind of depend on Whitney for that. But she gets there, and she's like, all right, guys, what do you want to do? And we're like, well, we only really safely like 2.5 hours to, tour, because we like to be back in time to, just at least see a little bit of town. So by this point, it's probably...
It was like
9 o'clock.
It was,
yeah. We'll say 9:30, and so like if we're back by 11:30, that gives us an hour to look right around the port here before we have to get back on the boat. And so it's like, all right, that's not a problem. We're like, just tell us a little bit about the town as we drive to do whatever. And so she's like, I'll tell you. She said there are some beautiful waterfalls here. We're like, yeah,
trails,
sounds
waterfalls, camping areas,
and so. We get in this Hummer, and super nice lady.
Mm-hmm.
She introduced herself, and her and her husband had just actually moved to Alaska for the summer. That
was really cool.
Yeah, they had both recently retired.
Yeah.
And their daughter had went off to college. They were from Florida, and they said what they decided to do was just travel and work.
They came in April and stayed till October.
Yeah, and so they just come for the cruise season. But as far as outside of her accent, I wouldn't have known she wasn't from Alaska. I think she had really did a good job of
explaining everything.
Yeah, and just she
studied
the culture in the town, and so you didn't feel like you were really missing out on anything. She had familiarized herself with the area, and she was telling us all about it. So we go, and needless to say, she's talking about the town and points out where they're staying at and the company she's working for, and all this good stuff.
All the landmarks.
And so we're driving, and we kind of leave town, and she's pointing out local landmarks, telling us the history about Ketchikan, and we go kind of to the end of the island. Both Juneau and Ketchikan are on islands, so
you go as far as you can go, and that's it.
Both of them are only towns that are accessible by boat or airplane or seaplane. Saw a lot of seaplanes.
That was cool.
Yeah,
never saw one of those before.
Yeah, see them take off and land from water. That was pretty amazing. But we kind of get to the end of the island, and she gets out. She's like, "All right, we're going to go on this walking trail." And so she gets over here to the sign.
We weren't expecting any walking.
And we're
trails.
like, I knew we were like 2.5 hours.
We're not
2 hour
real
trip.
exercising.
Yeah, I'm not a hiker. So she points to the sign. She's like, all right, this is the trail. And I see it says 4.8 miles. And I'm like, oh, boy.
A panic.
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ask you, how far is it? She's like, oh, it's not the whole trail. The whole trail's a long way. She said, we're just going to walk out here a little while.
About a mile.
Yeah, so the whole thing probably a mile, so it wasn't bad at all.
No. Beautiful.
That was really only like
so
one
pretty.
way, because she kind of she knew a little shortcut for us. So we walked out there, and I mean, just phenomenal. The waterfalls and the places that we were able to see just on that little hike. I would say the whole thing less than an hour.
Yeah.
Like I said,
worth it.
Probably about a mile.
So worth it. Well worth it.
So we walked through the woods for a while.
Rainforest
area. What is technically considered a rainforest, not the way I would imagine a rainforest.
It's because it's just like it's not touched, and I think like the trees don't really take root, so they fall over. Nobody touches them. They're not logging. There's tons of like moss, and she called them little fairy houses, and that's what I liked.
Allowing when a tree dies, and usually it's massive because I say it's
really
untouched
big,
there in this really remote part of Alaska where we were at, and it just rots and becomes a fertilizer for everything else
It's
around
like
it.
it mosses over, and they do look like the stumps and stuff will look like a little fairy house.
Yeah, we
like,
have some pictures of it.
Yeah, it was really
online.
cool. So I thought that was neat.
So we get to this and you can hear it as soon as you get out of the vehicle. You could hear the waterfall, and we walked for probably 30 minutes before we got to it, and finally you see it. And it was awesome. And she was explaining to us, everybody kind of knows salmon and how when they spawn, they swim up the river, up the stream. And she was pointing out, as they go up these waterfalls, there may be a flat area, and that's where they'll kind of spawn. And that's also where bears know to hang out, because they're going to stop here in this little flat area, and they're going to eat them. So we missed that by about a month or two. That said, usually from July
I'm
through
glad
September.
we missed the bears. I mean,
I don't know. I would like to see it.
yeah, but it's scary too.
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't want to been out in the woods. Maybe I'd probably wanted a little bit of a different trip. But I would. We have bear here, but I would love to see like some brown bear and a grizzly. I think it would be amazing.
The coolest thing to me was she said there's so many salmon that they just cover the water, and that back a long time ago they would have races where they would run and see who could run across the water, across the path without getting wet. They would walk on the salmon.
Yeah, they said the natives were so skilled that they could run across the river. And there were so many salmon there, their feet wouldn't even get wet.
Yeah.
I was like, that's amazing. So you can look up, I looked up some of those videos on YouTube.
I think that was called the lunch trail or something's the name of the trail. It was lunch.
Something.
I have a picture.
Lake something falls.
But the trail was the lunch something trail, because I remembered it said lunch and I like to eat, so I remembered it that way. I'll be looking.
Because I had asked her, I said, where's all this water come from? On top of this mountain. She said there's a huge lake on top of the mountain that it comes off and then filters down to the ocean, and so it makes this little river. And so once we left the waterfall, we went to another
Lunch Creek trails.
Yeah. So we went to another smaller waterfall, and then from there we walked down to the ocean. We kind of sit on the beach for a few minutes before we started walking back to the vehicle. So that was just awesome. I was really glad that we done it. And then on the way out, we had passed a totem museum, and that was one of those things we had told her we wanted to do. So we went, and they had this little park. It was set up, and there was, as you walk this little trail again, it was telling you the history of the totem poles and the native people. And it was a lot of the information
They're amazing.
we had got from the video the day before, but it was just amazing to see them in person. These were originals. They had two buildings there, and one they had built to kind of, repurpose, like if a totem pole is in bad shape. They kind of redo those there, but not anybody can do it. It has to be a native. They have to be trained. They actually go to school to work on these totem poles. So we saw one there that they were working on kind of redoing and revamping. And they said when some that are in such bad shape that they're just, all right, we can't repurpose this. We can't redo this and bring it back. We saw some laying off in this field, kind of over in the woods. And we're like, what are they doing laying over there? And she's like, it's kind of their beliefs, that they don't want to burn these. They don't want to do anything with them.
Yeah,
they just let them they let them rot and kind of go back to the earth. And it was one of the things I remember that really stuck out to me from the documentary. And they mentioned it there at that park. I saw a sign that did, and it said, one of the troubles that the Americans and the Europeans had with the natives were they thought we were worshiping the totem pole. They're not. It's a way we symbolize our ancestors, and we remember our past. And so everything means something. And it's not an idol. It's not a god to them. It's just a way they recorded their history.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. And then there was this other building right in the middle of the park. When you get down to the park, there's this huge field. You walk kind of in this loop, and there's totems every so many feet, kind of where they were naturally. And it was one of their clan houses. And so, as you know, Alaska, when we went, it was beautiful. Good weather in the spring and the summer. But in the winter, it's deathly cold. And so the whole clan would go in this house. They would seal it up.
I don't see how they fit.
And you see there's a huge fire pit in the middle, and
or close quarters.
yeah, and so your whole family would go into this clan, and they would stay through the winter, and they would have enough
So
food
they had a
and
lot of
stuff.
fun.
Yeah,
Games.
so they were talking about all the stuff they did, and it was just like I said, we have video of inside the clan house. You actually got to go in as a little bitty doorway. So we squeezed through there and went in and looked around.
There's lots of pictures of this stuff too.
And like it was just amazing the size of the logs that they had used to build it. And I'm thinking, think back to hundreds and hundreds of years ago when this was built.
By hand.
The power and just the engineering that it took to lift those logs.
They're smart.
And each of the columns that the beams they used for support, they were totems. So it was really amazing. It's just some great pictures and
very talented people.
Yeah, great to see that culture. So the whole island, and then we left there and we went, and she was telling us some more about the island of Ketchikan, and the entire island only has 8,200 people. Mm-hmm. So very small town. And on the way out, when we had started our trip with, her name was
Michelle.
Michelle. Michelle told us that we passed a Walmart just outside of town, and showed us a lot of funny stories like that. Walmart runs a free shuttle from the cruise ship to Walmart, and said a lot of people are like, why would you want to be on a cruise ship and go to Walmart? But sometimes you just have something you forgot or something.
She said mostly people wanted snacks.
Yeah, wanted some snacks, just something different, kind of break up the cruise food a little bit. And we understood that. And she said it was the second smallest Walmart in the United States. And so, just so happens, my mom works at Walmart. My whole childhood, she had, was a stay-at-home mom. But after my brother and I had left home, she decided to go to work, and she went to work at Walmart. Whitney actually got her the job. She put an application in for her and got her hired, and she's been there over 10 years now. So time's flying. But so Mom worked there. She's like, well, if we got time, let's stop at Walmart on the way back.
Yeah, get her picture.
So we did that, and we went in and bought a pop, just something to get us a receipt from it. The second smallest Walmart in the United States in Ketchikan. And Whitney, you remember where I looked up where was the smallest?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah. So actually in Atlanta, you wouldn't think Atlanta having anything small, but on the campus of Georgia Tech, they had just recently built a Walmart in the last few years, and it's about 2,500 square feet. So it's average size house, maybe a little above average size house, and so just very tiny Walmart. That's hard to imagine. The one in Ketchikan, it was small, but I don't know. It wasn't like crazy small.
No.
It was, probably everything you needed. It, at least here at home, there are some that are similar size. I mean, they're a little bigger, but nothing, crazy. But it was smaller than the average Walmart, obviously. Yeah. So we stopped there just for a few minutes. Then we went back to the ship, did some shopping and things before we got on the boat. But that kind of wrapped up Ketchikan. Anything else that stood out to you from Ketchikan before we move forward?
No, the town. I just thought the town was really cute. I mean, it was just really neat to look at. It was a small place, and it had some really pretty views in the mountains in the background. A little different than what we'd seen in Juneau, but it was still really pretty. I thought
it was nice. It was just really laid back, and I think this was the.
It reminded me of Gatlinburg.
A little bit.
If you've ever been, just a different version, but it was set up like the streets are, and Juneau too. They're set up like that, sort of.
Yeah, they're more, but not as busy.
No, definitely not.
And I think, like I said, this was our last stop in Alaska, and the biggest thing I took away was how similar the people that live there are to here, to home.
Yeah.
It was just
very
really
nice,
laid back, very, similar to, just good people. I thought they just super friendly. They were proud of where they go. We go to a lot of places that people they're not proud of their home. They're not proud of where they come from. They're looking to leave. We saw that in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Like everybody was looking for the first chance they could to leave, and it wasn't like that in Alaska. People really loved it, and I'm sure there's elements of it being very remote and harsh winters. You probably have to love it to live there.
Yeah.
But you could see, I think my biggest takeaway, you could see why people would fall in love with it. If if you were retired or you were someone that didn't have real strong connections where you're from, and you went there, I could see you be like, this is a spot I could settle down.
Yeah.
Because it was amazing. So that kind of ends our time in Alaska, and I just thought amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So
I'd like to do it again.
Yeah, we got back on the boat, like we said, about 12:30. By 1:30, we were gone from Ketchikan, and over the next day and a half, we're just cruising. The next day, we went to Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, but we didn't get there till 8 o'clock the next night.
Yeah,
so
it was
a day and a half
stop to me.
But what that did allow was some more time to see just these gorgeous mountains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to have stayed. I mean,
cruising from Ketchikan to Victoria, I thought was really beautiful. Wasn't Tracy Arm Fjord? You wasn't up that close.
It's still pretty.
Got some beautiful views. That's
it's
where we
different
saw the whales.
It's different to sail and see land around you than it is when you go places where you don't see any land.
Yeah, it just made it much more interesting. It was easy to go and spend time on the balcony. You didn't really feel like on this cruise like, hey, I need to go watch this show or do this. I was just content to just
watch what was going on
just
around outside.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So our last day, got that great sea day brunch that last day, where we were not at the port early. They went ahead and did that. But at 8 o'clock that night, we got to Victoria, British Columbia, which is in Canada.
A beautiful town as
well.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful town. It was edge of dark. It was still daylight, but
it's just pushing
dark.
it. You really couldn't do much.
And so you may be thinking, all right, why go? And like I said, we got there at 8. We had to be back on board by 11:29, so 11:30, and we had to be gone by 11:59, so before midnight. So why go somewhere for 3.5 hours? And so this is one of the things I didn't know until the pandemic. So a law is in the United States is that if you are a cruise company and you sail out of the United States, you have to stop at a foreign port.
I didn't know that.
So you couldn't go just to Alaska, make 5 stops in Alaska, and come back to Seattle. Okay, so that was one of the things last year when cruising first started opening back up after 2020. And Canada was a little slower than the United States opening back up. So the people in Alaska, they're like, all right, we've missed one cruise season. And this is vital. You can imagine in Juneau and Ketchikan,
those small places,
that is vital for their existence.
Economy,
is tourism. And so they are they're pleading their case with the government. If Canada's not going to open back up to cruises, do something to where you can still come here. And so there was a temporary law put in place last year that allowed boats to go to Alaska and not stop in Canada. But to my knowledge, that has expired, so that's why you have to stop in Canada.
It's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I wondered why it was just a small stop.
So Victoria was nice. I'm saying if I wanted to go to the Northwest, the Seattle, Vancouver, that area, Victoria's a place I would be happy to go and just stay there.
Yeah, it's really pretty. It was pretty. Very clean, very pretty.
And since we didn't have much time, we did go ahead and book an excursion. We felt that was the best way to see the most of Victoria in a short time. We took a bus tour. It was fun. But it was
not worth the money, just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, it was $90 a person. $89.99 for a 2-hour bus tour that
we just drove in a circle.
Yeah, we just made a lap around town. Now the bus driver,
he was great.
Super friendly.
Not his fault.
He was knowledgeable. He told us all about the town. And he even told us, he's like, hey, you're not supposed. This isn't a tour. It's supposed to be, get off the bus and get back on.
But he did stop for us.
So we stopped at a couple places. Let us take pictures. 15 minutes here and there, and like I said, a beautiful town. A town that I would like to go back and just fly there and stay for 3 or 4 days. A lot going on. It was a biggest city by far that we went to, but very expensive. Very. I would say, richy town.
Yeah, well, I'd say to live there.
So here's a little bit about it. Victoria is known as the City of the Gardens, and is home to a number of spectacular gardens ranging from formal and traditional to exotic in theme. That's the fact I looked up about it. Again, great weather that we had, but the one thing that stood out to me was that the average home price. Do you remember? And this is really.
I remember him. It was
this
up
is
there.
for condos, pretty much. There are some homes with the gardens, but just the average condo price, $1.4 million.
I thought about buying one on the way out.
Did you? Thought about it? Yeah. So luckily I talked her out of that and debt for 3 or 4 lifetimes. But no, and they pointed out I think the most expensive one was $10 million. But it was a beautiful town, and honestly, it reminded me a little bit of Rhode Island. When we went there.
Yeah, it did.
Just a town that probably everybody there's got more money than me.
Yeah,
and and what's crazy about some of those towns is like all these beautiful homes and just immaculate places, and for most of these people, it's their vacation homes.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, this is just a different level. But it was nice. It was a town, like I said, I would love to go back to, but we weren't there very long.
Mm-mm.
We got off the boat, got on the bus. It was literally right there at the boat, and
it's kind of like, yep,
right
there it is.
there.
Shake your head, get back on the bus.
Yeah, I mean, most of the things, even if we had time, by the time we got there, it was closed.
Yeah, it was late.
I mean, you had to.
The only thing open, they had like the gift shop right at the boat, and it was not a very good gift shop. It didn't have very much.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just.
I didn't even buy anything for myself. It's hard to believe.
My dad collects shot glasses. Even though like none of us drink, it's just something easy to collect that we can display. And so I think I bought him a shot glass, and that was it. Maybe a magnet. Did we get a?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Did we get a magnet for Victoria?
Yes.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we've been to Canada before, so we might already had one, but so we did get some magnets.
We're on the opposite side, though.
Yeah. That was about it. But that kind of wrapped up the cruise. That last night, getting packed, everything's set out, and kind of saying your goodbyes. And that was another bad part, I think, about the timing of this
getting
stop.
Together to get off the boat.
When you got back on the boat, there was nothing on the boat to eat but pizza.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a line.
I was starving.
Like, probably an hour wait for pizza.
Yeah, that's a.
So we ended up ordering some room service in and just paying kind of the extra for it because it was after hours. But
we were hungry.
I mean, I didn't even think I ate. I think I just maybe ate some snacks we had in the room, a granola bar or something, and went to bed. But that was our last night. So we got up and was off the boat by 9:30. Really easy process getting off the boat. And I mean, it was quick, painless. And so overall, for me, my favorite trip we've ever done.
Yeah, but you're forgetting something important.
What is it?
We went to Oregon.
Well, I'm talking about the cruise.
Okay, I should say
we're
you
not,
can't forget that. That's my favorite.
We have one stop left in the podcast, so
and I will get tore up if you don't talk about it.
Yeah, so we kind of decided, so we're not rushed getting off the boat, and we kind of relax. Nothing's worse than ending your vacation just in a tizzy. So we got off the boat. We went and dropped our luggage off at the hotel. We had rented a car on Turo. If you've never used Turo, it's kind of like renting cars, but like Airbnb style. So you're renting somebody's car, their personal vehicle, other than
cheaper.
Going through. Yeah, super cheap.
I've had good experience with it.
Yeah, super nice people because they're reviewed. Mm-hmm. So like the guy he'd 50-some people rented his car, and it was all 5 stars. Yeah, everything's clean. You put in just what you want. I said, I want something with Android Auto. That way it's got Google Maps. When we get in, I can plug my phone in, and all my stuff's there. Makes it really convenient. We wanted an SUV. Wanted plenty of room. And we got it for $59 for the day, unlimited miles, all we wanted to drive it. And you could go cheaper than that, like some compact cars, up to high-end sports cars.
Up to a
we thought about doing a Tesla, and it was just $150.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been
But
bad.
I said, what if we run out of charge?
Yeah, that's why I said we wanted to go a little ways, and that was kind of new to us. I was like, we may
We'll
try
try
that
that.
sometime when we're closer to home, or in Lexington or something. So we decided, well, we have a day here in Seattle,
And we're working on checking off all 50
all
states.
50 states, and we're like, we've been to California, now we've been to Washington, we've been to Nevada, we've been to Arizona. Wait, we're gonna have this space there in Oregon that we've not been to.
Why would we go to Oregon again?
And we would have really no reason to go to Oregon. So I looked it up, and we're an hour and a half from the border. Let's rent a car, drive down, and that's what we did. And originally the plan was just simply drive across
we
the
actually
border.
thought about going to Portland at one point. But
At
we
one
didn't.
point, but we didn't. And so I'd kind of already in my mind decided I don't really want to go to Portland.
We were really tired, though.
And so I was like, there's this little town I see on the map across the border, across the state border, the state line. And let's just go there. We can say we've been to Oregon. I'm sure there's a gift shop. Well, we get there, and
Find the
there
gas
is a
station.
Mexican restaurant and a gas station at this small town. So we go to the gas station. Again, super friendly people.
Very
Remind you of
nice.
one of these country stores at home. And so I asked the lady as we're checking out, we used the restroom, got us something to drink, and I said, okay, we're from Kentucky. We're just here for a few hours. We're flying out in the morning. What do we do in Oregon? And she's like, do not go to Portland. I was like, hey, sounds good to me. She's like, what is there to do here? And so she's racking her brain, and the other lady's kind of chatting with us for a little bit, and she's like, oh, I know. The next town, if you stay on this road.
she said, oh, there is a
There's
movie, a Disney movie was filmed there about Halloween. And I said, Halloweentown? And she said, oh, that's it. Well, immediately, excitement hit me because I love Halloween.
This is one of Whitney's all-time favorite movies.
I love Halloween.
Maybe her favorite holiday, and
Yes.
one of her favorite movies. As a kid, Halloweentown, if you grew up in the 90s like us, Halloweentown was a big deal.
It was great. And so I said, yes, we're going. And which he already said, yeah, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
So we drive to Halloweentown. I think this is my more expertise.
Yeah,
than yours.
take over.
But so we drive to Halloweentown and we get there. And, obviously they don't have Halloween decorations up all year. The lady said people wish they did and they would come and ask them. But she said they like to save it for that time of year. But they do Halloween from September until after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
She said they have thousands of people come and visit. It's called, was it?
Spirit of Halloweentown.
Yeah, but the town is St. Helens. Was that it?
Yeah.
Or something Helens? But anyway, and it was just the cutest little town. But the surprise that I got was not only was Halloweentown filmed there, but the very first Twilight was filmed there. And Twilight is one of my favorite movies and books because when I was in college, we were obsessed with it. So we made the T-shirts to wear to the movies. We stood in line. We were there at midnight. I read the books. I had the box collection. We were Twilight fanatics and growing up or whatever when I was in college. So we got the map. And poor Clifton, bless his heart, he had driven me to every spot on the map that either had a Halloweentown place that they had filmed or a Twilight place. So, as we drove around, we saw the place where Bella went on Twilight went dress shopping for the prom. We saw her house. It was the first movie. Bella's house there. We saw the place where Edward saved Bella from the drunk guys in the book. We saw the place where they had the first date. We also saw Halloweentown, the little area in front of City Hall where the big pumpkin's at. And she said they actually get that pumpkin out on Halloween for that time of year. But right now
a little globe.
Yeah, they have different things there. It's kind of like a silhouette of
But
what
they
would
decorate it for each season.
holiday. Yeah. So we saw that. We went down by the waterway and they had this really cool Halloween totem pole. I thought that was really cool. It was like jack-o'-lanterns. We saw Maggie Cromwell's house, which is actually a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, and so was the Twilight
Yeah,
House.
the Twilight house was as well.
So if you're a fan of either of those, Airbnb, you can
rent.
go and stay either in the Cromwell house or is it Bella's house?
Yeah, Swan
I've never
House.
watched Twilight, so that doesn't mean anything to me.
You really missed out.
but
But
you can do
anyway, So there was just so many those landmark places, and I just absolutely loved it. I was so excited. I just felt so giddy because I am a fanatic over going places that's like something, if it's like a TV show, a book, or something I've liked. Like, I love Tombstone because we love Tombstone movies, but I'm obsessed with Westerns. We're planning on trying to get to Dodge City because I love Gunsmoke. So that was really cool for me because I just love that kind of thing. We went into like a thrift shop there. It was really cool. We went into a store that sold stuff like Halloweentown type stuff. I found a store that had a lot of memorabilia, but it was the coolest thing was the lady didn't stay open all the time. So she had a vending machine, and you bought your like souvenirs from a vending machine, and they had like T-shirts and anything you would pretty much want in a store. So I've got
Either
several
Halloweentown or Twilight.
Yeah, several of those things there. But I absolutely loved that town, and I would like to go back.
It was just by accident.
Yeah, that was one of the most exciting things for me because that was my thing. So I just absolutely loved it. I was so excited, and I put plenty of pictures online.
Yeah, so we spent probably 2 hours in the town.
Yeah,
it's another small town.
It's very small. It reminds me.
No red lights, I don't think, in the town.
No, if you are from where we live in southeastern Kentucky, the border of Tennessee, there's a little town called Cumberland Gap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot like that. It's very small. Everything's walkable pretty much. Yeah. It was really nice, and I completely enjoyed it.
So we did that. Drove back to the same gas station we started at.
Told the
got
lady
something
thank
else
you.
to drink. Told the lady thank you, and then we were on our way back to Seattle. Like I said, it was from where we went in Oregon, across the state line back to Seattle, about an hour and a half. So we did that. We kind of took a scenic highway back just to look, beautiful country there.
It is.
Again, in Washington, I don't think snow-capped mountains in Washington, but they have them and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Mount Rainier and all that's there. Didn't really have time to see that. So we took the guy's vehicle back, and he was actually leaving, I guess, for work or something. We got there, he's like, well, that was a quick trip. And he's like, what was y'all doing? And I was like, yeah, we just drove to Oregon just to say we had. And he's like, okay.
I think you thought we were weird.
I think he thought we were weird.
But
I was like, hey, we're from Kentucky. And that seemed like these. He's like, well, I don't blame you. So he was a nice guy, easy to work with. If you're looking to rent a car, I recommend Turo. It's easier.
Yeah.
We've rented cars from Hertz and Avis and Budget and all those places. Enterprise. Turo's a lot easier. You do it all on your phone. You message the guy. It's all through that app. You're covered. My insurance policy covers me and the vehicle, but you can buy more, and it's cheaper than the insurance through a rent-a-car center. You just have all the information up front, so it was really easy. So I recommend doing that. And then the next morning, we went to the hotel and just kind of napped and laid around and relaxed and ordered in food. And then next morning we got up and we had a flight at 10 a.m., so we were to the airport by 8. Everything went smooth. And the flight back, the pilot must have had it in high gear because it took 4.5 hours to get out there, about 3.5 to get back. We were back like almost an hour. We were 2 hour. We landed in Cincinnati, or the Northern Kentucky airport, had our luggage, took the tram back to our vehicle, and it got on the interstate by the time our plane was supposed to land. And so I was like, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
So we come on home.
It was a great, easy flight.
Yeah, but that kind of wraps up our trip. We hope you've enjoyed listening to the podcast about it. Like I said, make sure you check out our Facebook page, Kentucky Couple. Our Instagram's getting up and running. Our YouTube channel is up and running.
Instagram is like the Kentucky Couple Travels, I think, because I think I had to put travels on there because of it. YouTube,
I think you can look up the Kentucky Couple. It's there. We have a couple videos. One's kind of like a vlog, just really a collection of some photographs that we took.
And then scenery.
And then the other one is just some videos I edited together. So make sure and check those out. And we appreciate everybody's listening and support.
Share this with your friends.
Yeah, share our podcast, guys.
If you have any travel questions, we're always here.
Comment on these. There's some things we like to do to kind of get in a routine. We're not taking a major vacation like this. every week. So what we're planning to do is go back each week and look at a vacation we've done or something from the area and kind of get back into the habit of our top 5 list. Just some information about where we've been and things that you can do if you're wanting to travel more and just enjoy traveling. So thanks for listening. We need anything before we check out?
Got it.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening and sharing like this and comment and subscribing to all that good stuff. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye bye.